Hey y'all, what's up? JamiThatsMe here. Welcome back. I am back, okay? Quite a few of you guys actually added me, DM'd me, and wanted me to talk about the Derrick Jaxn interview that he did with the Dear Wifey podcast. Y'all know we did cover a few months ago when his I guess ex-wife, soon to be ex-wife, Miss Derrick Jaxn, got a chance to go over there and sit down on Dear Wifey podcast, and she, let us know a lot of details. And I'll be honest, like Derrick kind of answered some of that stuff, but this interview, the first part, was a bit lackluster, just a little. I mean, I definitely wrote down things that we're going to get into, but I feel like this interview, Derrick really, to me, just took a lot of accountability for his shit. It seems like he was taking a lot of accountability. He was being very honest about a lot of things, but I have to say, okay, I have to say that there were things that I felt like he was trying to blame her for. Okay, and we are going to get into part one of that. All right, I want you guys to go ahead and like up the video. Let me know that you are here. Like up the video. Also, be sure to leave your comments and stuff. But yeah, I want to know how y'all felt about this interview too, as you guys sat through it and what you kind of got from it. But we are going to see part two whenever that one drops, and see what else he's gonna give to the people. All right, but let's get into part one because that's what I watched so far. All right, so Derrick, he says that he isn't big on interviews or really talking about himself, but he felt that when it came to this particular situation, being that Derrick Jaxn had already come to the platform to spill some of their tea, he felt like it's only right for his side of the story to be told as well. And in case their children were to see it later on, he wants the kids to be able to see where both of the parents stood when it came to the relationship and how they may or may not have been able to resolve things. All right, so he says that right out the gate he liked Danae because she wasn't really the typical black girl that you would see. Okay, to him, she was more so quiet. She was kind of reserved. She was cute. She had a little body on her and stuff. So there were certain things about her that he liked because it wasn't the norm. For me, it just kind of made me feel like it kind of confirms just a little bit that he could have likely preyed on her, which is something that I said at the beginning, because she wasn't the norm, right? And because she probably was so green to things, So, I mean, some part of that just kind of made me feel like, I don't know. I'm gonna listen to more of the interview, but I feel like just with the statement of you went for her because she wasn't like what you typically would go for, lets me know that you probably saw right out the gate how it would have been easy for you to kind of like manipulate her. But I don't know, because he also talked about how he really fell for her, like for real, and they fell for each other very, very quickly. So there's that. All right. He speaks on doing his platform, primarily for women. He knew he would face some type of issue, some type of friction, not being the favorite and stuff. So he knew that, it was going to be some conflict coming his way. He says that people tried to say he was only into white women at one point because he took a picture with his daughter and I guess her hands or something. And she was so light bright that people thought that he was only into white women. They didn't even know that the woman he was with was a full black woman. Okay. So it seems like he has always, according to him, has been the target for people to come after. Okay. He's always been that guy for people to like come after. Okay. He says that he always considered himself a target from the public and try not to internalize it because people will always have an opinion of you. And he said he told himself he can't see himself through the lens of how other people see him. And I was like, oh, okay, then, I think he kind of got a little piece of a point. And as much as I was hating to agree with that statement, you can't always see yourself through the lens of what other people may see you through. All right. Because they'll make some of those people, not all, but if it's negative lens, they will definitely have you feeling a way about yourself. Okay. For real, for real. All right. Now he speaks on men feeling like he was pandering to women. He was pandering to women. In my personal, I really believe that he was pandering to women and using his platform to get access to even more women, because how Derrick goes on in this interview to talk, it sounds like he may have developed some type of sex addiction with him being exposed to porn so soon at a young age. And then in addition to that, crossing the boundaries of, engaging in sex so soon. So yeah. I feel like, he had a little addiction to that. He liked to overperform and all of that, like he says. I don't know about you there. A good eye. is on you, okay? But we do appreciate you keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? So I will say Derrick was really open in this interview. I mean, he told us a lot of stuff, child. I was just like, all right then, Mr. Derrick, man. Okay. Let me go ahead. I'm trying to set some other stuff up over here, guys. So give me 1 second. I just want to make sure I get this right. All right, cool. Um, let me save that one. Let's see. Okay, so what else did Derrick let us know? He says that the men have this bro code that makes them feel like they have to always have each other's back no matter what, and that they cannot be corrected by anybody. And I was like, listen, that is very true. That's very true. Okay. I said, this is why for me, okay, there is a bro code. There are codes for different people. And that is why for me, I can't always go along because a person is a woman or go along because a person is a black woman. You know what I'm saying? So I can't do that for me, you know. And those were the thoughts that came to my head when he said, because y'all are all black men or y'all all are men, you shouldn't speak against, or you shouldn't say this or that or da 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 da, you know. So or you can't correct us because of this. That's what he was saying, and I'm like, okay, I see where you're going with that. I see you. You kind of do be having some points, just a piece of them, and I'm just gonna be honest, you know. But anywho, he says he wanted to name the episode that they were on, You Reap What You Sow. He says that he gave his life to Christ in February of 2020, from my understanding. He says he is no exception to not reaping what it is that he has sown. So it seems like he's gonna be content that when hardships or whatever come his way, based on how he treated his wife, is going to be expected because of, you know, what he put her through. You reap what you sow. He admits to giving himself an out and excuses, he says, and he wants to be accountable at this point. He wants to keep it real. And I'm over here kind of like, I don't know if that's going to really make us like you again or anything, but you must have got with a good PR person that told you how to go ahead and try and do this interview to kind of like turn some things around. Somebody must have got with you. But anyway, he says his parents were in their early 30s, I believe, when they had him. His dad is from Jamaica but got into some trouble, so therefore he had to go back. I believe he was deported, right? So when he was deported at the age of 4, his mom was pretty much single for, you know, pretty much all of his life. She was a single mom raising, I believe, like 4 kids. He had an older brother that ended up moving out. His mom worked like 2 or 3 jobs, so he was primarily being taken care of by his 2 older sisters. But they were able to connect on a certain level because they're both women. And they were closer in age, whereas he was the younger kid. So oftentimes he kind of would feel that abandonment where the 2 sisters would go off and do their thing and the mom would be over there, you know, having to constantly work. So he kind of felt abandoned, and it just made him develop certain feelings about himself to where he didn't feel seen and, you know, often rejected, as though he wasn't worth people, you know, taking the time out for him or anything like that. Okay. So he talked about that. So yeah, he felt invisible and abandoned. He did speak on losing his virginity around 15 or 16 years of age, and he says he lost that to a neighbor, but he didn't want to like open up and talk more about that. But it seemed like he went over to our house late at night. Okay, in the wee hours of the morning. I guess the mama must have been at work or something like that. And that's when he went over there and he started getting it in. And a lot of what he learned, from my understanding, was from what he saw from watching porn when he was exposed to it at the age of 10 or 11, he says. Okay. Now, he did acknowledge that Danae had an innocence about her. He says that she didn't judge him for being a soft person, because he's more of a lovey-dovey person, according to him. And he enjoys doing poetry and all kinds of stuff like that. Like, that's his thing. And she never really, you know, judged him for it or said like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that or anything. So that's another thing that kind of like drew him to her and made him like care for her more, because she was, you know, understanding to that. All right. So then it seems like he is now in therapy, according to him. He's now getting the therapy that he needs, according to him. And he says that he learned that he doesn't handle grief very well because he feels rejected and unwanted. And that really stems from his dad not being in the home. And because his dad not being in the home, it resulted in, mama having to work more and him having to be taken care of by his sisters. It was like a trickle down effect. And it made him question his worth to a point where, am I not good enough for you to have gotten it together or for you to have gotten it right? You know what I'm saying? So he's learning those things in therapy, that a lot of whatever your parents did truly didn't have anything to do with you. They were dealing with their own stuff, but every, good thing that they were trying to do, they were thinking about you in the process. But a lot of this stuff you just can't put on yourself or whatever. So anywho, he speaks on being rejected by Danae, and he says that he is an aggressive person intimately, right? So when it comes to intimacy, that's the only time that he's really aggressive, but outside of that, he's not like an aggressive person where he'll snatch her up or cuss her out or do all of that. You know what I'm saying? That's what he say. He was just more so aggressive when it comes to like, intimate energy, right? Intimacy. So he says that Danae would tense up though. So when he would try to show his affection, like come up behind her or touch her in a certain way or do certain things, she would tense up. But he never knew why she was tensing up. And we know that from Danae's interview when she said that she was violated. Okay. She was AR'd, and he did not learn that until I think she said maybe a few years later. In this interview, he said 5 years, but I don't know how many years she said, but it definitely was a while. She never told him about it. So when she would have these tense up moments or lock up or do anything, he wouldn't know like what's really going on with her. She would kind of like shut down and not like actually communicate what was happening with her. Right. So he says he initially didn't know what she was going through as far as her being assaulted because she didn't tell him until later in the relationship, which was like 5 years into the relationship was when he learned. So because of that, he started to develop other relationships with other girls because he felt like she was rejecting him. And I want to judge him for that really bad. But being in college and a young kid, like your early 20s, you may not think to be like, hey, this is a safe space. If there's something going on, like talk to me, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think there may be some college students in their early 20s or whatever that would think like that. But I think majority of them wouldn't think like that. They'll just be like, oh, you must be messing with somebody else, or you got something else going on, or you you know what I'm saying? So his response to that was for him to go out here and get to know other women, right? So he doesn't have to, so basically trying to fill a void so he doesn't have to feel that while he's with her. So there's that, okay? He did go on to let us know, which is crazy, that there was another RAP incident with this with Danae. He says he doesn't know if she's going to talk about it or want to talk about it or anything, but there was another incident that happened in the span of what she mentioned on the show. In her interview before meeting Derrick, and I think prior. So I think she could have had two different situations where she had likely been assaulted. But again, he didn't know about any of this until years down the road, which Danae also confirmed in her last interview. Right? So, he says he didn't know that. He says that he didn't know his natural way of showing affection to a woman was actually scaring her. So that's something that he said he didn't necessarily know. So Derrick says often when things were wrong with her, he would beg her to tell him and she wouldn't. And then she would hold it in and blow up on him. And him dealing with that rejection is what actually led him to cheat, because he was trying to get her to talk to him. Okay, so I guess I kind of stand corrected when I'm thinking that in college, you wouldn't, you would want to let a person know that you're, this is a safe space, but because you're so young, some people don't, that's not something that crosses their mind sometimes, right? But anywho, at some point in their relationship, he begged her to talk, she wouldn't, and that led to him going on and cheating, okay? Not that I think that that's right. You know what I'm saying? Just the person you're trying to be in a relationship with. I don't think that just because you feel like you being rejected, you should be able to just go out and cheat. I just kind of feel like if you know that you're prone to be like rejected, and any little thing a person to do will make you feel rejected, then you probably just shouldn't be in no damn relationship. Just be single and do your damn thing so you don't have to deal with that. I don't know. But anywho, he says that he is a flirt and he would give compliments to other women and she won't like that. I'm sure not. If you over there giving compliments to women in her damn face, because that's what it sounds like when he was like describing what he would do. It sounds like you would be giving these ladies compliments in her damn face. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, everybody not going to go for that. Some women ain't going to trip. But, you know, and then you have some that are going to trip. So, it's like, don't do that. Anywho, he seems like he was blaming her, in my opinion, for the toxic patterns within their relationship. Because she would always push him away. And when he would pull back, she would get suspicious. And he says it got to a point where she was hostile. And I feel like for me, it's like you are kind of trying to blame her for the toxic environment when you also contributed to that as well. Everything didn't have all of the ways that she acted with you. Everything wasn't surrounded by what she experienced in her assaults. Some of her reactions was genuinely coming from how you handled and mishandled y'all relationship. So that's the thing that I didn't like, where it seems like he was just trying to blame her for some stuff. Like, this is why I did that, because she didn't do this. She wasn't, giving me affection. She was rejecting me, and she was doing this and that, so it caused me to cheat. Well, if you couldn't take the rejection no more, you should have just broke up with her ass. Could have just broke up with her, went on about your business, and continue to, just not date nobody and just be out there just dating women that's comfortable with y'all situation the way that it is, not having a true relationship. So that's just what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Like, you can't try and make excuses and just use everything for, put everything off on her lack of communication and her assaults. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. But anyway, so then he says he was pressed about her talking to a guy, but she had already. Okay, yeah, he said he was pressed about her talking to some other guy, because I guess she ended up talking to somebody else. But my thing is, you had already been cheating on her. So at this point, game on, okay? He says he didn't know what really happened between her and that guy until after after Danae and Derrick got married. Once they got married, that's when he found out what happened between them. But it was also after the boy died. And that's the boy that she also mentioned when she did the interview or whatever with, okay? When she did the interview the last time, she talked about a guy. All right, so he goes into details about his career, how he got started and stuff. I believe he said he started out doing like activism type of posts, and then it just became too heavy for him. And he was like, this really ain't me. I'm more of a lovey-dovey. I like to, give women false hope. I like to give, relationship advice, even though I'm not the one living by the things that I'm telling them about when it comes to these men and stuff like that, So that's the arena that I want to stick to. Now, I will say this, Derrick. I saw that you were trying to clean up the interview, and I feel like you definitely got with somebody, probably PR or whoever, to try and turn this thing around. But I'm also, the more that I'm talking about this interview and the things that you said, is giving you have a great way of packaging up your bullshit, is what I'm also seeing. You have a great way of packaging that bullshit up. Like, you're good. You have the gift of gab, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, that's what you got. All right. Yeah, and I wish the interviewer would have asked more, like, how did that make you feel, knowing that you were giving advice to women and men or whatever, relationship advice, and you weren't even living by what you needed to on your own end. You wasn't even practicing the shit that you was preaching or whatever. So they technically getting the word predator is coming to mind, but I don't think that he's a predator. But it's like they're getting advice from a unauthentic person, for real. So how did that make you, like, what were you going through in your head knowing that you was pretty much fake? Why wasn't that question asked? Maybe it'll be asked in the next one. But anywho, he says that although he and Danae were broken up, they were still like in a situationship where they still would, link up and they'll fuck on each other and then they'll go on about their business, right? So there's that. He says he doesn't know why she told people that when she was coming upstairs, another girl was coming downstairs. They would pass each other on the stairway. He said, I don't know why she told y'all that, because that never happened with her. Now, I told her a story about that happening with some other women, but it ain't never happened with her. So I don't know why she would even say that. Maybe because you told her that, she was on alert. Maybe when she was coming up there, she would see other women walking down, and maybe she made an assumption that those women could have possibly been leaving your house based on what you had, the stories you had told her. So I don't know. But anywho, that's what it was, honey. That's what he said. Was there anything else I cared to talk about? Okay, he admits that she did miscarry. So she's been pregnant by him multiple times. Prior to them having their first child, I believe Marley or something like that, he said the baby's name is. She did miscarry when they lived in North Carolina. But prior to that, he did say that there were abortions, okay? So yeah, some part of me is kind of like, now why you told that lady business like that? Like, now why you had to tell everybody that this lady done had abortions and stuff? But considering the fact that the baby was half your seed as well, it's like, I guess you could tell it, but it still made me uncomfortable. But whatever. Anywho, so that's what he says. All right. He says when she had Marley and he was all in, when even though they weren't together, he was so all in on being a dad. He was like, he didn't want her to have to want for nothing. He was gonna pay all the bills. He said he continued to pay all the bills up until they divorced. He says, but he just wanted to be the man for their child. And you know, that just really like, I don't know if I believe that. I don't believe that. He says when she had Marley, he was all in. They weren't together, but he was all in as a dad, but not as her man. He said he paid all the bills until they divorced. He says he married her because he was financially set. He knew that he could trust her because he had made like 7 figures, and it made sense. Plus, she had just had his child. He says he wanted to make sure he provided for her because his mama didn't have that, and he knows what it's like to go without. So he wanted to be able to provide that. But this is the thing that bothers me, though, Derrick. You say all of that, but then according to Danae, you go and get you a whole nother damn house downtown, midtown. You go and get you a damn loft. And to me, you are recreating the trauma that your daddy gave to your ass. Even if you over there providing for the wife and she ain't technically gotta be out here overworking and doing all of that like your mama had to do. You one of them men that think that providing is just enough. And that's it. And your presence doesn't have to be there. So you technically repeat it. And it's so interesting that your storyline as you're having this interview is continuing to be about rejection and abandonment. But that's exactly what it sounds like, according to Danae, that you gave to your own family, was the rejection and the abandonment. Am I stupid? Or is that like, it's not making sense to me? And you will move your ass down to a loft so you can, you know, have your sex capades and entertain whoever the hell you want to entertain. Leave her in this big ass house with your children as a single mom, because you know what a single mom is, what it's like for a single mom. But whether you're providing for her or not, she's still a single mom, a married single mama, which your mama probably technically was a married single mama too. Just because your daddy lived out there in damn Jamaica or whatever, did they ever get a divorce? Were they ever married? If she married him, then she still technically is. So you just recreated the same damn thing. The only difference is that y'all got more access to more money now. You did the same thing. So I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. But I see what you're doing because, like I said, you have the gift of gab. Okay? But if you really listen, you can hear through the bullshit. Anywho, so, yeah. You talk about how you wanted to be the perfect dad and provide and do this and do that, but you never talk about wanting to be a faithful man to your wife. And then goes back and results everything back to her rejection and her abandonment, instead of y'all probably doing therapy together and just figuring out better ways to communicate. And I would like to know, once you learned that she had been assaulted on more than one occasion, how did you change your affection when it came to her? How did you meet her needs, or how were you being understanding to her after you learned this information that you learned about her being assaulted? I'm just confused. Just, clarity. Anywho, so he said when they were engaged, he cut women off, but his boundaries were loose. And that's what got him fucked up. Same way with Scrappy, right? Scrappy saying he wasn't cheating on Bambi, but them boundaries was loose because he was still entertaining other women. So this is the same thing that Derrick says that he was doing, okay? He says that he would still communicate with the girls that he used to smash, but they never crossed the line like that ever. So if a girl reached out to him and he just responded real quick and said, oh yeah, I'm doing good, fam's great, whatever. If Danae saw that, she would start to assume something was going on. Yeah, she would. And it don't really got a lot to do with what happened in her past as far as assault. It does have something to do with you not properly communicating with your life and not creating a space for her to feel comfortable that you, if you are having conversations with other women, she feels so comfortable with where y'all are that she knows that nothing's going on. Like you just didn't provide that for her, but you wanted to make sure you provided a financial lifestyle for her. You wanted to make sure that you were all in as a dad, but according to Danae, you was all in Midtown in that damn condo because you damn sure wasn't at the house. Hello? So I hope that, you know, those questions get answered in the next interview. All right. So that was pretty much it that I really wrote down that I cared to talk about. He's, you know, he talked about her getting her lick back when she cheated and said something about her smashing the homie because they put all their cards on the table. I think she smashed the homie. And then also, I believe that, you know, the dude that ended up passing away at a later time, I think they could have had something going on as well. So she definitely got her lick back or whatever. But, that's that. But I want y'all, I mean, y'all let me know how y'all felt about the interview and stuff if you've listened to it. Were you able to kind of like see where he was taking the accountability, but at the same time, he was packaging his words properly to where it seems like to me he was slick trying to blame her for some of the stuff? Because that's still what I got from it. He still was kind of like trying to blame her a little bit, in my opinion, you know. But yeah, that's really all that I got at this time. I want you guys to go ahead and hop down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and everything about the interview with Derrick Jaxn. I'm Jamie, that's me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share my videos, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JamiThatsMe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.